would you mind participating in our RFP? I'm like,
Okay.
okay, yeah, we'll do that. Sure. And it was lovely because we'd spent so long being patient and being helpful that then when it came to it, it was like, well, of course I want to go with you guys, because every interaction I've had with you, you've been delightful.
But that one was an interesting one because that's maybe nearly 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
Nearly 2 years. Yeah, we're literally onboarding them now.
Yeah. If you then said, right, Michelle, show me the results of the last month. How well have we done in the last month? You're actually going, well, actually, the last month was a success because of something that happened nearly 2 years
We
ago.
did, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is my podcast episode with Michelle Caulfield Harris. We've worked together for quite a long time now for 2 different companies. One was a satellite internet broadband company. This company that we work with her currently is called Red Helix, and they're a cybersecurity company. Michelle is a fantastic marketer, and what makes her so good is there's 2 things that make her stand out for me. One is that she really empathizes with the people she's trying to market to, not just on the surface level. She's like brilliant at really trying to get in the mind of them and speaks to customers all the time and tries to empathize with exactly what they're after and what their needs are. And secondly, she's really, really good at understanding everybody's part, everybody's role that they play when it's a considered purchase, or it would take someone a long time to decide whether or not to go with them. So she really understands everybody's roles, what the marketer's role is, what the salesperson's role is, what the technical people within the company's role is, what the CEO's roles are, that everybody plays into this long game. So I hope you enjoy the episode. It was really amazing to chat with Michelle. It was recorded just before our Christmas party. So yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Michelle's podcast recommendations for any situation.
That's the niche.
Yes, that could be my podcast. It would be very meta.
I think that's really great. I think that's a great idea. Now, you and I have worked together for how long? I think it might be 10 years, you know.
It could be as long as that, and I really hate admitting it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the first company you worked with that we worked with you was Big Blue. And
it was Big Blue.
Big Blue being a satellite broadband company.
It was broadband for people that couldn't get broadband specifically. Yeah. So those people have been disappointed because they've been told, oh, BT, we're not going to cover you. We can't get to you, for example. So they're already disappointed. They're having to take an alternative route. Yeah. So they're putting a lot of trust in you that the thing's going to work the way that you say it's going to work. Yeah. And also not everyone can have it, right? Because like we were saying, you've got your house, you needed somewhere suitable where you could mount a satellite dish, and it needed line of sight to the satellite. So if you lived in a forest surrounded by really big, if you're Snow White and you're surrounded by giant trees, yeah, it's not going to work. And you can't therefore just have a pure e-commerce play, because someone needs to check. Someone needs to be on the phone with you, was how we did it, and say, right, where are you? And I'm going to look on Google Maps and some enhanced functionality, and I'm going to say, yes, I can see where we would put this. So yeah, straight away.
But marketing that is very, very different to marketing another broadband service. So how you would look at that is so people get the concept of broadband. Yeah. So marketing broadband, you have to think of like, you know, how you're going to do that. But actually when it's different and it's got all those bits to play with, marketing that is more complicated, isn't it? Right?
Yeah. And do you remember we played around with that? Because normally if you're marketing broadband, you have to put in your postcode. So if I'm going to sign up for broadband from like Sky or BT, for example, I'm going to go on the website and the first thing is a postcode checker. I'm going to type in my postcode and they're going to say, great news, you're covered. And we didn't have that because we didn't need it. But we toyed and we went back and forth, didn't we? Like, do we need to introduce this function just because consumers expect it? So do we almost like, is it a sign of credibility and trust that we're the same as the big players? Yeah. But it would have been a nonsense step.
Like, there was a price factor, wasn't there, in it? Because it was much more than normal.
It was more expensive. Right? Yeah.
And so I remember us playing around with how we introduced the pricing, because it was like, if you saw the pricing straight away compared to normal broadband price, you'd go, that's really expensive. But so how did you feel about marketing that? How did you feel that, because that's a big challenge, right? That's
Yeah, but I felt personally invested. I don't know if I told you this, but I couldn't get decent broadband at my house. So
ah
I felt really personally invested because I lived in an Oxfordshire village. It wasn't that rural, sort of 15 miles from Oxford. It wasn't the middle of nowhere.
no,
And I couldn't get serviceable broadband. My partner and I were probably the last subscribers to Love Film by Post because we couldn't stream on our broadband.
yeah,
So we literally
don't
we had
don't
the
go,
physical DVDs. So it was personal, right? I was like, I would pay that. So
yeah,
I felt confident because I had personally experienced the pain, the same pain that our customers were going through. And that was just as a personal users, where we had a lot of people where they were maybe running an Airbnb, for example, because it was somewhere beautiful and rural and people wanted to go and stay. But they needed a decent internet connection, and that was worth more to them than, your average broadband, because they'd felt the pain of not having it in the context of the whole, technology revolution of how integral the internet is to our lives now. It is like the fourth utility. And if you didn't have it, you really felt like you were missing out. It was worth paying for. So it didn't in any way not sit right with me that we were charging people more, because it cost us more because we had to get a satellite in space to deliver that internet.
yeah, yeah. But here's the thing with you. I think personally, from dealing with you, working with you, I think you're different in a marketer. I think you're a different type of marketer to some degree, in the sense that you empathize with people a lot. So you're saying, so even though you're saying you could relate to those people, I think actually all the way through we've dealt with you, um, as a marketer, you at every step empathize with looking at it from the point of view of the user. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I don't know that that's unusual. I think that's important for everybody. I think regardless of what you're marketing or what you're selling or taking to market, you need to have the customer at the heart, otherwise you're setting yourself up to fail. But now that you have said that, yes, I have then the company that so we sold, we did a trade exit at Big
Mm.
Blue to Eutelsat. Eutelsat were impacted by a cyber attack, not on Eutelsat, but on a shared resource. And I then had to deal with the fallout from a cyber attack. I'm slightly traumatized by it, as everyone who goes through that is.
Of
I think
course.
I think there are so many examples where people say, and there are lots of people in the cybersecurity industry where when you talk to them, dig a little deeper, they've worked somewhere that's been
Yeah.
hacked, that's been
Of
breached,
course.
that's been
Of course.
affected.
Of course.
So now that you said it, now I think maybe there's some sort of like I go and find jobs that fix the problems I've been through, which I'm not doing consciously. But yeah, that's fair. I do think actually it makes it more interesting, right? If you feel that you can understand the pain that someone's going through or that you're preventing them from going through, then
Yeah.
I think that just makes your job 10 times easier.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Well, I mean, it definitely does. But I do think, so when you say it's not unique, I think that a lot of people think company first to
Mm,
some degree, user second, even though they'll say no, user first, always user first and stuff like that.
yeah.
But actually, do they believe that? So a good example of that is the way that people will almost try and use high pressured tactics to make people make
Mm.
decisions and stuff like that. But I think this is a superpower of yours, really, which is try and put yourself in the position of that person and think, or that organization or whatever it might be, and think, actually, how would I feel in this position? Would I? And
Mm.
that's essentially building trust up, because you're going, I don't want to trick you, because actually once you come over the line with us, we want to keep you on board, and
There's no point. Yeah,
there's no point.
there's absolutely no point tricking people, because then everyone's upset, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's disappointed and everyone's upset, and then I've done a bad job. I think sales often get the flack for this in B2B marketing for mis-selling, but I'd be complicit in it.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think that's quite delightful about Red Helix, because the industry that we're in, the cybersecurity industry, has long traded. We call it FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right?
Yeah.
And it's oh, look over here, look what happened to
Yeah.
M&S keeps
Yeah.
getting referenced this year. Look what that, wouldn't that be awful if that happened to you? Oh, we can
Yeah.
help you. And I think actually that's really harsh, right?
I
That's
think
not
it is.
helpful. That's not helpful. It turns people off, right? Because
I
then
think it
they feel
does.
pressured into I have to do something now. And also, who are we kidding, right? That M&S didn't have decent cybersecurity in place.
Yeah.
They did,
Yeah.
right? They absolutely did.
Yeah.
You know, people have done deep dives into exactly what happened, and it could happen to others. So
Yeah.
there's no point promising that you could stop that happening. You have to be honest, and you can say we can minimize the risk, right? Cybersecurity is very much around risk and understanding your risk appetite and understanding your business priorities. Speaking of the customer, you know, like what is it that they're trying to protect? What would a breach here or there, what would that mean for them? And it's different for different companies and different industries, and you need to properly understand that to then be able to give good advice to say, okay, well, actually, given your position, given that everything that you've built, everything that you're using is hosted in the cloud, let's really hone in on your cloud security. That is a different answer than someone that you might give, say, I don't know, a big manufacturing house, for example. So you have to listen to the client and then work out, is it a good fit both ways?
Yeah.
And I think that's lovely because that runs throughout Red Helix, including right down to the stock analysts who are running the tech on behalf of our clients. They will always say it's about partnership, right? And if we've got partners, if we've got clients who see themselves as our partners and see us as an extension of their team, that's when you get the best result.
No, and that's right. And so how do you deal with that with Red Helix? So, because I agree with you, and I think that a lot of it is you know, there's a lot of psychology behind people are more in fear of making a mistake with their decision
Mm,
than they are being pushed into something. So I've decided to use Red Helix for my cyber security. No, like there is an element where people will introduce some fear aspect. You know,
yeah,
you've got to make this decision now, otherwise, look what you could miss out on. But I don't think that gets them over the line. I think what gets them over the line is them trusting in you to do a job that they're not going to then regret it. If I buy
yeah,
a pair of jeans online, I can send them back. I've got 30 days or
yeah,
whatever. I can send them back. If I go with you guys into cybersecurity, if I make a mistake, what if this isn't the right company for me? Winning them over in that marketing, that's the
yeah.
trick, right? That's the,
That's that's the trouble. That is the big exam question is how do you establish trust in this industry? Because the consequences of getting it wrong are so severe.
yeah,
So I've mentioned M&S. I reckon you could name me another brand that's been hacked this year in the UK,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Think of a big one. The headlines have been horrendous this year, haven't
Yeah,
they?
horrendous. Yeah, that's right. I
Horrendous,
mean, it
right? We've
almost happens. I mean, I would say almost weekly, if not
Yeah,
monthly, stuff come out.
totally, totally. And I think we've really heard about it this year because it's happened to some big named brands, right? It happens to companies large and small all of the time, but it's happened to some big companies that we all know about. The implications have been just so vast, right? So the estimates for how much M&S lost, it's like some people say 300 million, 130 million. You know, it's huge numbers. Jaguar Land Rover having to talk to the government because they need bailing out because there's a whole supply chain that is crumbling while they're not producing cars. Like the implications are horrendous for the staff, I mean, the co-op chief exec, she spoke so brilliantly about the impact, you know, the devastating impact on customers, but also on all of her team. You know, like it's just so disastrous if it goes wrong. The stakes almost couldn't be higher. Those are like the big brands that are going to be fine. There's the small businesses that go out, like, and the medium-sized ones that go out of business, right? They
Mm,
can't recover. The stakes are so high if you make a mistake on this one that
yeah,
all of it has to revolve around trust. And then that's tricky because how do you establish that trust, right? So we have lent really heavily into events. My job in marketing is to find, you know, is to get the right message to the right person at the right time, right? That is a real basic level. That's what my job is. But it's difficult to reach out to people because they don't want to hear it because they've
no,
heard it before
yeah,
and
of
because it's
course,
been framed in terms of this fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And it's all such a negative message. So then it's like, okay, well, how are we going to get people to trust us? And we've found events to be absolutely key to that because they look us in the eye, right? They meet us, they
mm,
spend a day with us.
yeah,
So rather than saying, you know, please can I have a meeting? We've got plenty of meetings, we don't want another meeting, but join us for a day, meet with your peers, because I think often, certainly in the mid-market, where we have been positioning our services, we started serving. Red Helix has been running since sort of the 1980s, 1984, being really, really big customers. And in the last decade, we've really transitioned to continue doing that, but in addition, serving the mid-market. And in those sort of mid-market organizations, the IT director or the CISO, they're the most senior IT person, and they maybe don't get that much chance to talk to their peers.
Yeah.
They maybe, they're the boss and they're the one that everyone's looking to, like, are we going to be okay? Are we safe? So actually what we found is it's really valuable just to bring all of those people together, and we can almost step back. We set it up and we say, right, we've asked you all in advance what you want to talk about, coalesce sort of around these sort of topics, have a go. Like, we're there to facilitate, but we really just let everybody else help each other. And I think because we've gone so softly, because it became very clear to me when I joined Red Helix that people they're not interested in a big sales push.
No,
It's not what
no,
they want.
no.
They know about the technology, right?
Yeah.
They know what's available to them. They
They've been
just don't know what they
educated.
need to pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really they need time to talk to each other and then talk to us, talk to our analysts who are the people providing the service, really to say, okay, I see you, you're real people, you look committed, I can shake your hand, I can spend a day with you, I can have lunch with you. And by the end of the day, we get great feedback, right? We get people saying to us, I don't have a requirement right now, but what I do now is I know that I can trust Red Helix, right? I know that I don't need you right now, but I know that when I have a problem, I'm going to come and ask you because I
Yeah.
trust you to give me independent advice that genuinely has my best interests at heart. So that's how I've approached it as a marketer, is what
Yeah.
can I do that's the quickest way to get people to understand that they really can trust us. And that's been very much based around face to face, which I know is odd because obviously we
No,
work with you on the website, but the website is obviously part of that.
of
That's
course.
how we funnel people. We need a mechanism to get people to register to come to our events. But yeah, that's how we've approached it, and touch wood, it's been quite successful so far.
But I think that's really interesting and fascinating, because what you're doing is what we talk to lots of companies about, which is this. Well, like from our side, we're playing one of the parts of a much bigger puzzle, and being making sure that the information's right, that every time they visit the site. So in my last podcast that I did with Elliot, he was saying that some people could take 3 years before they decide to go ahead to become
Yes.
a law, to change into the law firm with them. And in a similar way, someone might be halfway through a contract and they're considering going to you. Now, although you set the events up and it's very successful for you, they're still going to be looking at your website, looking at the emails, looking at what you do elsewhere online, and have those touch points like all the way through. And if you can build up that trust as part of this bigger puzzle, that's what the marketing is, right? That you're not trying to say to them, you're
Not
not trying to
pushy.
go, hey, listen, yeah, exactly, not pushy, not like, listen, if you don't get in by the end of this year, you'll miss out on ... You're going, listen, we're here for you, and that's how you can build this
Yeah.
trust up, by people understanding the information that you're putting out, and that you don't look like you're threatening them if they don't decide to come with
Yeah, exactly.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. We had a great example just recently. We've just signed a really sizable new client with Red Helix, and they came to an event, I think it was in April 2024. So
okay.
they came to an event, so they were probably invited, I think in like January, we invited them because we have a good couple of months run up, because we really do spend ages asking people what they want to talk about, and then we try and buddy people up. We maybe over engineer it, but we really put so much effort into like making sure everyone has a great time and that they learn as much as they possibly can. So he came back in, I think it was April, and then some emails, just the usual, like a little bit of thought leadership, just some emails, and then another, hey, do you want to come to another event? And at that point, it was like, you know what? I was in contract with an MSSP, a managed security service provider. The contract's coming to an end. I'm not happy with my incumbent. I'm going to go out to RFP. Would you please be part of it? And the email we got was so sweet. It was, would you mind participating in our RFP? I'm like,
Okay.
okay, yeah, we'll do that. Sure. And it was lovely because we'd spent so long being patient and being helpful, that then when it came to it, it's like, well, of course I want to go with you guys, because every interaction I've had with you, you've been delightful.
Yeah.
So no
And
pressure. We just have
and
to
you
keep
you
being
don't
delightful.
yeah, and you sort of don't need to fake it, do you, in a way? You can kind of go, if this is the culture of the organization, this is
Yeah,
what we believe in, you don't have to fake that. You can be like, look, we'll keep in touch with you for the next 5 years. We'll be here. And that's why I was saying, like, all those touch points are important, because if you looked like you were static and you
stressed.
didn't
Yeah.
look like you were doing anything outside, you want to be putting things out all the time, they might forget about you. But the more that you're sort of like, oh, we're here, and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
but that one was an interesting one, because that's maybe nearly 2 years, right? That
Yeah, it's nearly
uh,
2 years. Nearly
yeah,
2 years. Yeah, we're literally onboarding them now.
yeah. And so
So
And so how does that work then? So this is a kind of an interesting point. If you then said, right, Michelle, show me the results of the last month. How well have we done in the last month? You're actually going, well, actually, the last month was a success because of something that happened nearly 2 years
we did,
ago.
yeah. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. And it's
And
hard work.
it's
Yeah,
hard.
it's
It's
hard
really,
work. It's hard having the confidence to stick with something long enough. That's the difficult thing, is because we're always, my job is to constantly look for more, right? I have not yet in my fairly lengthy career found a sales team who are like, oh, plenty of leads, please, no more, we're full, can't
yeah,
take any more. Can you
yeah,
imagine, right? Like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
that's never going to happen. So it's always like, okay, where can we get more leads? How can we get high quality leads? Like that's the job. And so I'm constantly looking for what else can we try. If we put a bit more budget over here, if we try this, if we
of
try this,
course.
if we tweak the message slightly, but then you have to really let it run.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's just having the confidence to go, I feel like this is the right thing.
yeah.
Having some early successes, because we've had it before, where actually just so happens that we've reached out to someone in the course of our regular events program, we've invited them along, and actually they've had an urgent requirement, and we've justified the cost of the event before it's actually happened. So sometimes it can be quicker, but really it's also identifying those sort of green shoots, like, okay,
Mm,
maybe we haven't got any revenue from this yet, but we can see these opportunities. And then it just comes to working so closely with your sales team, which I think is so much easier. Like B2B, you just have to really get to know them, and being able to say, hey, Phil, where's that? Is that real? And trusting them that they're doing their job, that they understand it, that they can qualify and say, this is going to come, it's just going to take a while.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then defending that back up the chain.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. And I think that looking for those green shoots, I think your KPIs become really important. Like, what are we measuring and what we aren't measuring? There's a lot of thing. I saw something on LinkedIn the other day, and they were talking about vanity metrics, and I was thinking, actually, in a long purchase cycle, vanity metrics are really important, because you've really
Yeah.
got to understand
Yeah.
these little bits that are all over the different parts of the funnel. And actually, one of the things Elliot was talking about on his last conversation was that you could do an event, you could then do an email or campaign, you could then do an interview with some lawyers, and you could update your website and have
Mm.
have a new section put on it and things like that. All these things really play into what you think might not be working, but someone's sitting back looking at it, and
Yeah.
how you measure that and how you target that, it becomes near impossible to do it. So you have to use other metrics to say, well, that was good. We did get a lot of views of this. Did we increase any leads from it per se at that point in time? Maybe we didn't, but we feel this was a great event and we got really good feedback from it. And
Yeah.
it takes some marketing skill, I think, to be able to walk that fine balance of going, listen, we're doing the right thing. We've got lots of activities going on. We're getting lots of interest in this. We've got 40 people showing up to our event, and they all loved it and they all said it was great. Did we sign anybody up for it? It'll happen in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Bear with
just
me.
bear with
Yeah.
me.
It's a fine balance, right? And it's that sort of, is it an art form? Is it a science? It's that classic quantitative, qualitative, all of the ways that you can spin that. It's just you have to, it's difficult and I can't say exactly how you do it, but you have to establish credibility and trust within your own organization.
Mm,
You have to demonstrate competence in so many areas that I think ultimately senior leadership, in my case, the board, I feel trust me. I think, there's been enough progress and enough of the like, these are the green shoots. I've been here 3 years and we've really quite drastically changed our offering. So, we were sort of concentrating much more on standalone services. We've bundled them all together so that we're able to give our clients a much more sort of comprehensive either entry point into cyber for some people who are, the smaller organizations who are really starting to take it more seriously and start investing, or those who are already taking a managed service and are looking for, can we get the same? Can we get more for our money? Can someone do a better job for us? So we've been through quite a transition, bundling new things. The sector and the industry changes so rapidly. There's always new technology. So it's natural that it would shift quite quickly. But there, this is a somewhat of the format that we're in now is a relatively new endeavor, and there were times with the board where, it was taking a long time, and that was the feeling was like, oh, why is this taking so long? And I think it's just justifying the reasoning, explaining the hypotheses that you're testing, and then showing the early data to
yeah,
say, yes, there's not new business specifically for this new service line yet, but we've done this, 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 and this. And in our experience, and in my past career even, I've done this, this, and this, and I know that it will result in this, this, and this. And
yeah,
it's just being able to show you're working, I think, is what's
yeah,
important. So
100%. I totally agree.
because I think people see it as fluffy sometimes, right?
I agree.
Sometimes people think, oh, marketing, that's it's the colouring in department has been leveled at me before, and I'm like, well, I do some colouring in, sure, but there is more to it, and ultimately it kind of needs to result in revenue, or you're not, you're not colouring in properly. Um, so I do think it's that showing the working and saying, this is what we're testing and this is what we hope will happen. And I will come back and I will tell you what happened. I think it's that.
Yeah. I think, interestingly, both of the companies you've worked for that we've worked together, senior management have trusted enough in the process that I think it's very difficult to work for a company whereby they don't quite trust. They don't quite understand that that this buying process will take a long time,
Yeah.
and so therefore they see marketing as something that they have no control over, and it's a bit more fluffy and stuff like that. Actually, really, those companies, those CEOs, and those board members that really truly believe, hey, yeah, we're going in the right direction, and
Yeah.
some things you're going to be so going back to the M&S thing, that can damage an industry, not just
Yeah.
them. It can damage the if M&S within your industry, if it got out that they were well respected, which as you say they're gonna be doing something very, very well, but
Oh, it is our aid. It is. It
is
is.
it
It came through their IT supplier.
okay?
Yeah.
So you're gonna go. That actually makes me more fearful of everyone. Like the label is put on every
Mm,
single organization out there, and so that can damage a whole industry. My thing was, there's an erosion of trust that's sometimes out of your control. So let's say
mm,
you've set some targets for one quarter and something happens to MS, right?
yeah.
Your industry can be affected, and you can look at your sales and you can go, they've gone down, or they haven't got where we wanted them to be
Mm,
this quarter, or whatever it might be, and it's got nothing to do with you. And that linear thing of like an e-commerce site where you go on and you go, well, I like that jumper and I'm going to buy it, and all that sort of thing, is so different when there's so many different factors that are at play to this longer cycle. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So there's this
Yeah.
there's a much bigger thing, really, where
Yeah, and it's out of our control, right? But I think you have to accept that you win some, you lose some, and you control the narrative around your business and how you're helping. Um, and and actually, in the example that we were talking about, the M&S example, that's actually, I think, been a good thing for the cybersecurity industry. We have long been banging the drum that you should not be outsourcing to an IT provider for your cybersecurity, right? There are lots of IT providers who have thought, oh, cyber's not much of a jump, right? And I understand that, right? I do computers, I could do cyber, but actually it's quite a specialism. And there's also an element if you don't want to be marking your own homework. So our recommendation would always be that you have an IT service company, that's fine, but you work with specialists on your cybersecurity. You should always have that, that separated out, and it is a specific skill.
Yeah.
And actually, the way that this has played out is it's become much more topical, and we've had feedback that it's just on boards' minds, or it's coming up in the boardroom much more. Boards are turning to their CISO or their IT director, and they're saying, "Oh, could this happen to me?" And they're saying, "Yes, this is the risk register. These are the vulnerabilities that we have identified. This is what we're actively doing to mitigate those vulnerabilities." And it kind of comes in layers, your cybersecurity, right?
Yeah.
You have some basic controls, some basic protection, a lot of sort of working on that human risk management, educating your staff. You can do that all. You could do a lot of that in-house. And then there's layers that you add on top, and it's kind of like Swiss cheese. Like the more layers you add, the
Yeah.
fewer holes there are. That's a
Yeah.
strange
Yeah,
analogy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
No, I get it. I get it. I get it. It's definitely like that, isn't it? It's like that with your car, the
yeah,
more layers, someone's going to look at it and go, I'm not going to
not
bother
worth
with
it.
that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not going to
exactly
bother.
that. Not worth it. Not going to bother. So I do think in this instance, it's actually been net positive for us, because companies are saying, I do need help from specialists. And they're saying, oh, my board are asking me about this. And actually, they're more willing to engage in the conversation, which ultimately I need them to do because I need to secure additional budget for this. But you're right, it can equally be detrimental. So we have CrowdStrike underpinning a large portion of our service. So we really think it's the absolute best of breed endpoint detection and response tool, and it is foundational to a lot of our services. And there was a CrowdStrike issue quite a while ago now, but that did hamper. That was a case of us saying, well, actually, this is how we mitigated it. This is how because we add that managed service layer on top, this is how we protected our clients from being impacted. And this is the benefit of working with us. But equally, now this has happened, CrowdStrike's probably the company where it's least likely to happen again. And there's a whole litany of fails throughout the IT sector in decades
Yeah.
gone by. Like these things happen, and companies evolve, and they make sure they don't happen again. So you're right, there are things that can impact that we don't see coming.
You don't see
No
coming.
one saw it coming. We didn't see it coming. But again, we did control the narrative. We looked after our customers. Our customers were spared from any major disruption. And then we controlled the narrative, and we explained how we can make sure that that doesn't impact you.
This pace, isn't it now? It's the pace
Pace,
of,
yeah.
so in the past, you could almost see the next 6 months. You could almost see
Yeah.
like where we're going to go, new tools are available, new things like that. How are you dealing with that in the future of the way that you're not just doing it internally to protect users, but combating how, other people are using AI to
Yeah.
invade systems?
Yeah, it is the pace, that's the word, right? Is pacey. And that is, the technology industry in general is moving at pace, and we have that sort of part of the Red Helix ethos is like always evolving, right? We know that we can't stand still. I haven't counted actually how many new partners we've onboarded this year, how many new technology partnerships we've established, that we've gone out to the market, we've looked at the technology, we've gone, yes, there's a really important use case for this, and we're going to bring it in house, and we're going to offer it to our clients. We do a lot of that. We've got two people where it's almost their full-time job is looking at the market, what's coming. We also, I mentioned, we work with sort of the leading technology providers. CrowdStrike, for example, literally this week released AIDR. I love an acronym. Oh my gosh, this industry loves an acronym. So
Yes, they
you've got
do.
EDR, which is your endpoint detection and response, protecting your laptop, for example. But now you've got AIDR, which is your AI detection and response. And that is kind of two-pronged. So it's protecting the use of AI, so like securing the use of AI. So for example, someone in an organization might be using a large language model, and they're about to copy paste some sensitive company information, right? So you've probably got a policy, you've probably already got an AI policy, AI use policy that says, do not copy paste confidential company information into an LLM.
Yeah.
But until really kind of now, you could put the policy, but you had no good way of enforcing it. Whereas now with this new tooling, it will block it. It will say, no, can't put that in there. That's not happening. Um, and that really helps the users to, A, learn, and B, not do what they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, securing the use of the AI. But then you've also got to secure the AIs themselves, because with this proliferation of new technology, there's new ways of compromising systems. So things like prompt injections, like putting false information in. And again, there's tooling now. Again, CrowdStrike AIDR is helping, which we have introduced, is helping to prevent that from happening.
Okay.
But for me as a marketer, it's like an extra job, right? Because not only
Yeah.
are we onboarding new technology partners to like make sure that the new threats coming on board aren't affecting our clients and that we're providing the latest and greatest technology, but we're also having to keep up, which is right? It's a delight to be able to keep up with our established technology partners with every new and additional functionality that comes out. And I think that's a lot of work for me, and it means
Yeah.
I just need to work, me and my team just work so closely with our product specialists. We've got people almost full time, just constantly learning what's new, what's come out, what's the additional functionality, rolling it out to clients, making sure that we're talking about the right things. Each year we do a year in review piece of content where we sit down with our specialists across the business and we say, right, what did we learn? What changed last year? What changed this year? What are we expecting next year? And it's very much about seeing what's happening on the ground and then writing the thought leadership to let everybody else know that, because we see it day in, day out as we work through protecting our customers. And then it's just about saying, okay, actually, identity has become a really big threat area, right?
Yeah.
The term is now hackers aren't cyber criminals aren't hacking in, they're not breaking in, they're logging in. They're getting those compromised credentials and they're just using them to log in.
Yeah.
So it's having the tools to detect that and respond and minimize any harm. And it's just like being on a hamster wheel. Like, it's just so quick, but it's also really exciting. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting because I think that although AI, it's like with everything, it's every piece of technology that's ever existed.
There's no getting rid of it now.
No,
It's here to stay. And
it's
I
out.
agree with you. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. And it is being used on both sides. So we just need to keep innovating so that we don't let the bad actors get ahead.
Yeah, which I think is why you're in the company you're in at the moment, isn't it? Which is that they've been around for such a long time that actually you have changed since the 80s, is it
Yeah.
that you
Yeah,
say?
1984.
1984,
Yeah,
which
we
is
formed in
insane, right?
1984. I know, absolutely. Yeah. Just building the networks, right?
So when's the next event you've got coming up? When's the next thing?
March. Yeah, for the next in-person event we've got booked for March. So anyone sort of IT directors who are interested in finding out about more, you can register on our beautiful website. Thank you,
Very
Abe,
good.
for that.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's March. But then also we're really excited. We're running kind of a mini conference, a mini exhibition,
Brilliant.
targeting sort of the network managers and the network engineers for those, very big companies that we work with, where we're bringing together all of our key partners, where we've spent so much time selecting the best partner for each, item where you need support in optimizing your network, bring them all together for a day of plenary sessions and a little bit of an exhibition hall so people can, touch the tech, their actual
Yeah.
boxes. It's on the 28th of April, and it's at Green Park in Reading.
Amazing. Great.
So yeah,
Great.
so we've got
Lovely.
some great physical events. Yeah, I think it's going to be more of, more of the same, because as I say, it's so rewarding getting everyone in a group. It almost feels like a therapy session.
Well,
Cool.
thank you very much for doing this
Well,
podcast with me.
thanks for having me.
And it's been
It
great.
was
And thanks for
just
all
a
of
great chat.
your kind of commitment to working with us this year. And we've really enjoyed it. I think the team, we really admire the way that you kind of do your marketing there and I think we've got the same ethos in that approach
Yeah, I think.
to kind of moving stuff on all the time and constantly evolving.
Yeah, no, I think there are some real similarities, and I'm your biggest fan. I will work with you wherever I
Oh,
am
well, thank
because
you,
you
man.
guys just do such a great job, and you consistently I mean, you've over delivered. There's something we've been working on with Risco. I don't know if Thomas told you. Yeah,
I do
so
know that. Yeah.
and we were expecting January, and it's been delivered today, and I've got team members working over Christmas, so I'm like, think how far
Hey.
ahead we can get. Look, we can get a real jump on this. What a Christmas treat.
Well,
So, no,
actually, he was quite pleased
delighted.
about that. He was pretty pleased that had got out. That we'd worked on that. I think Jim had been working on it quite solidly. So
No, genuinely, yeah,
yeah,
it's a
so
really big help having it early. No, it's a
great,
massive help because,
great,
yeah, we've got, fewer meetings and calls and whatever over Christmas, so we can
great,
crack on.
great.
Genuinely, early Christmas present.
Yeah,
Thanks.
there you go. All right, brilliant. Well, have an absolutely amazing Christmas. It's been lovely to catch up. I must come and see you, and we'll go for a coffee or something in
Defo,
the new year.
definitely, definitely, definitely. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, Aid. Always a pleasure.
All right,
Cool.
brilliant. Take
Speak
care.
soon.
See you
Thanks.
soon.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
bye, bye.